This video training series is brought to you by Friday People, the National Lottery Community Fund and Proud Business Productions. So lighting is really important, and it's one of the biggest differences between amateur looking footage and professional looking footage. So let's take a look at a couple of clips with bad lighting. So this first clip is of me when I started doing YouTube videos, and why this is bad lighting is there's not much separation between me and the background. So with everything you do with video, you need to tell the viewer visually where to look, otherwise their eye is going to be moving around the picture trying to focus on what they should look at. So good lighting helps bring that out. It separates you from the background and tells the viewer to look at you. In this second example, the lady is too close to the wall and her skin tone is actually the same colour as the brick wall behind, so there's no definition there. She's sort of fading into the wall. So how can you make the subject separate from the background? So there's two main ways of doing it, and they're both using contrast. And contrast is the difference between two things. The first one is called luminance, and luminance is basically how bright something is. So one way to do it is to make your background a bit darker and make you brighter, so that you're contrasting against the background. You're bright, the background's dark, as you can see in this example here. The other way to do it is to contrast with colours. So colours naturally have an opposite colour to them. So the opposite colour to blue, like the blue behind me, is actually orange, and even without fake tan, your face naturally has a sort of orange pigment to it. So putting a blue light behind you is going to make your skin contrast against the background. So that's using colour, using different colours from your background to you to help create that contrast and help you stand out. So next, what we're going to talk about is 3-point lighting. So that's setting up a standard interview look with 3 lights, as I've got here. So what I'm going to do is break it down really simply, light by light. So let's start with just turning these lights off and having the room light on. So this is just with a standard room light above me, and as you can see, there's no separation between me and the background. It's all just looking a bit meh. So let's turn that light off, put it to complete black, and then I'll turn my key light on. Okay, so this is my key light. It's the main light that is lighting my face. And the important thing about your key light is you want it to be 45 degrees away from the camera and then up a little bit above head height. And what you'll see is that starts to create shadows across my face. You'll see that I'll get a little bit in my nose here, a little shadow here. If you get in your shadow in that crease, that's when you know it's in the right place. So you use this light to set your brightness levels. So if you're looking at the screen, you want to make sure your skin's not too dark and it starts going a bit orange, not too bright, so it's like bright white. Use this light to adjust the balance so you get the right exposure or brightness level. So let me just show you quickly, if I take this light off in a second, to show you how moving this light at different angles can give the video a different look. So if I have the light more straight in front of me, you'll notice I'm starting to lose definition in my nose. It makes my face look flat. So again, just bring it around to the side and up a bit. You get shadows, which creates depth to your face. But if we had the light low down here, you know, that's sort of like a horror look, like around a campfire. Or you could have it up above you and that looks more like an interrogation scene, like in a police drama or something like that. So by moving the light around, you can see what it's doing to my face. But again, 45 degrees is pretty standard. I'll have it over this side. Let me put this light back up and then we'll move on to the fill light. Okay, so that's the key light back on. Now we're going to look at a fill light. So maybe having too much shadow on this side of the face is a little bit too dramatic. It might work in some senses, but maybe you want something that's a little bit more even across the face. So this is where you use a fill light, which is the exact same light, the other 45 degrees away from the camera. So let's get my switch here, turn it on. You can see what a difference that's made to my face already. I've got a slider on it, so I can literally slide it down slide it up, and you can see how much of a difference that makes to this side of my face. So you set your brightness with your main light and then use your fill light and set it where you want it to be. If you want it to be more dramatic, you have that down lower and have more shadows on your face. If you want it to be more even, more like a beauty shoot, you know, you bring it up a little bit, and I'm going to keep it about there. So if I turn it off and on again, before fill light, after the fill light. So you've now got your key light 45 degrees away from the camera and up above your eye level. You got your fill light on the opposite 45 degrees up above the eye level. So now we're going to look at a backlight. So the backlight, as you might guess from the name, lights the back of your shoulders and the back of your head to create sort of like a halo effect. Ideally, you'd want your backlight to be directly above you and shining down, but unless you've got like a big crane arm to put the light over, you're going to have it off to one side so it's not in front of the camera. Okay, so I have the switch for my backlight and I'm just going to turn it on. There you go, you can see already, if I just keep turning it off and on again, what a difference that makes. It's just picking me out from the background a little bit more. Again, you could use the a slider to make it more intense or less intense. Really, you want to be a bit subtle with this though. As you can see, where I've got it off at an angle, it's actually lighting some of my face as well, but I quite like that. That's not a problem, but I wouldn't want it too bright. So just a little bit to pick yourself out of the background. Okay, so that's using luminance or brightness contrast to help pick myself out, but what about if I wanted to use the color contrast? So I've got these LED lights back here. You can use any sort of light. If you found like a house lamp or something like that, you could put behind you. That sort of thing would create a different color. But I'm just going to turn these on. And be joined by my cat. And as you can see now, again, especially blue on green, it's just helping pick me out from the background a bit. So another way you could use the colours and the brightness, if you've got a darker background, wear lighter clothing. If you've got a brighter background, use darker clothing. And again, you can make your colours stand out from the background. So my green is standing out from that blue quite a bit. So just to recap, you've got your key light, which is your main light, lighting your face 45 degrees away from the camera and up above eye level. You have your fill light to fill in any shadows so they're not too harsh. That's on the opposite 45-degree angle and at the same height. You've got a backlight, which then picks you out from the background, just gets a bit of a halo effect around your head and shoulders. And then you can also use some coloured lights or any sort of other lights in the background to help break it up a little bit as well. But what if you don't want to shoot inside? What if it's a lovely day and you're shooting outside? Well, that's really good because daylight is the best quality of light available to you. But if it's in direct sunlight with no clouds, then it's going to be a bit harsh. So without clouds, you're going to get really harsh shadows on your face. It's not going to be very appealing. The other problem is if you look at this clip here, I'm shooting with the sunlight directly in my face. I'm squinting. So you can't see my eyes properly, which are very important when you're trying to show yourself on camera. And also there's no eye light. So the eye light is a little reflection of light you get in your eyes. If you don't have that, then you look a bit dead on camera. So there's a couple of ways you can fix this. The first is to literally turn around. Turn it so the sunlight becomes your backlight and then the sun is actually bouncing off of the ground and becoming your key and your fill all in one. So you can see that's what I've done in this clip here. I've turned myself around, my eyes are wide open, there's not as many harsh shadows on my face and it looks a lot nicer. Another way to do it is just to find some shade. So if you can find some trees that you can stand under so that it's nice and even and you're not having that bright light shining in your face, you can do that. And then you could have the bright background behind you of the full sunshine, or you could turn it around and have the dark background of whatever's in the shade. The other thing you can try as well is filming at golden hour. So golden hour happens twice a day, and it's at sunrise and sunset. So that first hour or two at sunrise and the last hour or two before sunset, the sun's really low in the sky, and it makes these really long nice shadows, and the light's got a nice warm feeling to it. So you could also try filming at those times outside, and you're going to get the best result. The last thing I want to talk about is shooting inside if you don't have any lights available. So as I said, the sun has the nicest quality of light available, and it's really good to use it. So use it, sit by a window. But as I said with the light, don't have the light directly in front of you, because you're not creating any shadows on your face and creating depth. So instead, turn your chair a bit so it's facing the side, so you're using the sunlight as your main key light. Then you can get like a white piece of cardboard or a couple of white bits of paper, and use that to bounce the sunlight from the window and create your fill light as well. So yep, sit by the window, turn yourself so it's acting as your key light, and then maybe bounce that light back a bit with a white bit of cardboard. And that's it for lighting. It's as simple as that, really. Next, we're going to move on to framing, camera height and stabilization. That's where to put things in the picture to convey certain emotions.